Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, Football Friday edition. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is Brack. This is your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star. Become a diehard at gophnx.com. And boy, oh boy, you got to be a diehard to consume this game come Sunday for sure. 20% off the merchandise locker. Check us out. Gophnx.com. Brack here on a Football Friday. How are you doing, sir?
I'm a little bit more enthusiastic than my co-host. Boy, do you have to be a diehard to watch this. People wanted this back in the summer of 2023. Remember when they were pounding the table?
Not fair.
It's tune time, baby. It's tune time. I love that the chat is just going through a roller coaster of emotion right out of the gates. Anything from Michael saying an upset for the Cardinals, 28-24. We got Donnie just saying Donnie's here. We got Michael saying
Donnie announcing himself.
Yes. We got Hen saying tank full display on Sunday.
Wow.
Free Warrior saying Cards win 24-21. So got some Cards winning predictions with the Tunmeister under center there for the Arizona Cardinals. There is a path to victory. We'll get into that in a little bit, but you know, as far as what we know about that, are you about to? You got your Arizona Cardinals Superman outfit on there?
Yeah, but I'm gonna do it.
Are you sitting up playing quarterback?
It's like I thought I was getting K1, so I'm gonna do this, and then it's Clayton Tune. I gotta get back in the phone booth. Not actually happening. The Toonski, bro, against Myles Garrett and company. This is an electric day, because it's the last day officially. That's not a game day.
Mm-hmm.
We have to talk about anybody other than Kyler Murray quarterbacking this team. Like, I know there's a game to be played. We're going to break it all down. But let's just take a second. This is the final days. We're in the desert, and there's water and shelter on the horizon for
this. There's a chance at thriving as a Arizona Cardinals society and ecosystem. But let's throw it up early. Let's throw up do we have the injury report, Damon? And maybe like one last time we're going to fake people out with a smoke screen. We're going to give them hope. And when we look at the Arizona Cardinals officially injury report game designations for Sunday, Week 9 against the Cleveland Browns, Tristan Colon, Amari Dermercado, out. Questionable on this list. Chris Barnes, Greg Dortch, Kevin Strong, Michael Wilson, who didn't practice all week, and one Kyler Murray is officially questionable for Sunday, Johnny.
Yeah, he was doubtful this time last week. And what did we tell you? He would be questionable a week from today. It's all part of the plan. You could say it's part of the shtick, but the shtick is over after Sunday. Like, this is the last game he's going to miss. We got that confirmed, barring something catastrophic. Brack, Kyler's coming back next week to quarterback them against the Atlanta Falcons, which means Clayton Tune starting on Sunday. I mean, you've seen kind of the tea leaves when you've been at practice that you can allude to here in a moment. But, I mean, they tapped Clayton Tune on the shoulder and said, hey, can you just keep us above water this week? And like, not even above water, because I see people are kind of alluding to the tank job this weekend. Like, I'm a full mind. Like, I think Joshua Dobbs probably gives him a better chance this weekend. I'm excited to watch Clayton Tune just as a pure football savant, as a prospect, right? Because I'm going to remove the condition of, well, I expect to win. I think they can win. I'm hoping to be surprised. This is the surprise game because clearly they're going to have other people need to step up if they're going to win this game. And it all starts with the kids. So again, like the dog and pony show, I don't think Kevin Stefanski and company are buying that. And, also Deshaun Watson, they've cleared and said he's starting this weekend. So it's not like the Browns are pulling the same thing. They could have left it up to interpretation. Hey, PJ Walker or Deshaun Watson, they're not doing that. So maybe the Cardinals need to take a book out of some of these other teams. Like, let's just be transparent with people. Most people, I would say 90+% that follow this team, that follow the NFL, know Kyler Murray's not playing this weekend.
Shenanigans. That's all it is. It's back-to-back weeks of shenanigans. They didn't do it the first week because I don't think that they could convince anybody that Kyler Murray would just go from pup to right into the starting lineup, especially with a new system. And then they could kind of smoke screen it up. They can puff up that smoke for at least the second week. And then now this third week, man, are they reaching, as the expiration date on Joshua Dobbs had passed and they sent him to Minnesota, a very quarterback needy team. And we're able to, kind of get one last gasp out of Dobbs. Dobbs contributed one more time in the form of potentially a 6th-round pick. And now you got one game to go. You've got one last hurdle before you can truly kind of turn the page and start to see what the future could look like for this Arizona Cardinals team. But yeah, we've got one game where that's right, Sports Hero, the Arizona Cardinals, the Arizona Shenanigans. Let's go. You got Clayton Tune. You got to put him in a prime position in so many ways to be successful on Sunday. But there is a path, and I've been calling it lightning in a bottle, Johnny. I mean, that's kind of the puncher's chance, the very slim odds that, Clayton Tune is able to get the job done, but there is an ability to do so. I mean, he's not completely inept there. We've seen a skill set that we like. I think the organization likes and projects as a future backup fringe starter for this organization. But look, I mean, asking for him to go into his rookie year and win, it's asking a lot from a guy like Clayton Tune. But, as far as the Kyler Murray thing goes, I think we anticipated that this team was going to weaponize its injury report in the name of gamesmanship, in the name of competitive advantage, just after what they did at the beginning of the season.
I'll tell you, he's got an advantage. Our guy DD in the chat picked up 3 T-shirts from the
merchandise
locker. Hell yeah, love that celebratory touchdown one that may or may not resemble a certain franchise quarterback. Absolutely love to see it. Rocket, if you're ever in the Valley, we'll buy multiple beers with our friends at BetMGM this weekend. That's where we're going to be at the Great Lawn. But Bo, to your point, the shenanigans for me, they were over on Tuesday. Why was that? Because Gannon came out and basically walked back his point from Monday that Kyler Murray, the plan was to activate him as QB2 on game day if he wasn't starting. So the minute they did that, I think everybody kind of perked up and was like, okay, this is going another week. And I wonder too, the minute that stuff gets out because I want to turn the clocks back to Monday, because that Monday presser was so absurd, not from a Gannon standpoint, just the absurdity of the reality of the situation. Like, they knew they were going to deal Dobbs. They knew they were going to play Clayton Tune. They didn't anticipate wanting anybody else to know that. So they wanted to kind of manipulate the scenario that K1 was going to be active regardless if he's QB1 or QB2, and Dobbs is out of the picture. But then Rap Sheet and Schefter broke the news kind of nationally, like, no, it's Clayton Tune. Like, Kyler's going to be another week barring something unforeseen. And I wonder at that point on Tuesday, with that information out there, not given to them by Gannon, we know that definitively per your conversation with him in the press room, wonder at that point, they're just like, okay, Kyler, we don't know if he's going to be active. We're bringing back, Jeff Driscoll, to be the practice squad quarterback. And then everybody could see through the forest of the trees what was going on. The Cardinals were going to do their dog and pony show at least for another week. We'll always have that 24 hours, though, where it legitimately felt like Kyler Murray was either going to back up Clayton Tune or maybe miraculously play against Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. But this is if you had told me, fast forward from last Friday to this Friday, I expected Dobbs to be the quarterback, but in no situation did I think Kyler Murray was going to play this game, and that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, they're seeing it through hell or high water, right? In strange circumstances that I don't think anybody could have forecasted after watching how Dobbs operated early on, and even with his struggles at the end. That I looked at another reporter in the press room today. I'm like, isn't it so strange that Joshua Dobbs isn't here anymore? He's just gone. He's just he came in and he started 8 games for this team, and now no injury. Poof, he's gone. He's wearing Minnesota Vikings purple and gold.
And I'm not a throwaway pick. They got Keitrell Clark and Dante Stills in the 6th round.
Yeah.
But for most franchises, you swap a 7th for a 6th. That's pretty big throwaway. Had he played better on Sunday, maybe it didn't lead them to a win, but certainly didn't throw those interceptions, and it's a close game in the 4th quarter. Do you think he is dealt? Do you think they still try to capitalize on his value, or do you think they say, no, we'll just play this out through one more week?
I think the opportunity presented itself in the form of bad news for the Vikings, don't you? Yeah. I mean, unless Atlanta was, I think they're moving to Heineke, and they feel as content as you possibly could be in that situation. And then, Rodgers is on just this weird, unbelievable fast track to come back from an Achilles.
I'm sure that'll work.
But maybe you look at the quarterback needy teams that need it because they have aspirations of staying in contention. I don't know. I mean, I think that the Vikings were just one of those like weird, strange things that just opportunity that presented itself just at the right time, 48 hours before the deadline or less than that, and they got the job done.
Yeah. Maybe you get a fifth instead of a sixth if he throws 3 touchdowns, no picks, regardless of the outcome. But it does make fans kind of perk up and say, what is this game really on Sunday? Like, is this a bona fide preseason game? Is this a scrimmage game? Certainly is not for Cleveland, who's fighting for their life to try to make the playoffs, win the AFC North. Watson's coming back. Like, the Browns think about the two dynamics of the different coaching staff. Like, Stefanski, could potentially get fired this year. I think he's a really good coach, but they could move off of him. They could elevate Jim Schwartz, their defensive coordinator. Everybody's got their arrows out for Deshaun Watson, pressuring him. Let's go. You got to live up to this ridiculous guaranteed contract. And then you look over on the other sideline, and it's like the Cardinals literally could have less to lose. The coaching staff is firm. They just got here. Austin Ford crushed it this offseason. Like, fans are upset about one thing. Mm-hmm. We want to see Kyler Murray. But they're literally telling everybody with their actions, not their words, Kyler's coming back next week. So this week in particular, I think we'll just sit Michael Wilson, right? I think we'll just throw Clayton Tune out there. DeMercado's out. Okay, why? Fine, whatever. Yeah. They literally. I don't want to say they don't care, because of course they care. They're working their ass off. They're putting the game plan together. But this feels like, if this is the regular season and then we had the preseason in August, it feels like the middle ground in between both of those aspects.
No, there is like a very season finale feel to it. And it is a bit of a season finale, isn't it?
It is.
It's week 18 and you've got James Conner, he did what? He just kind of he stepped in a hole or something and he's fine, but we're just going to set him out. D-Hop, he's got the sniffles, set him out. No, any reason to sit somebody out and just throw complete caution to the wind, do it. It feels like this is the week, because they really feel like they want to be at full strength. James Conner is eligible to come off the IR next week. Certain quarterbacks seem to actually be poised to make his debut in 2023. Michael Wilson will be probably closer to full strength, and he's officially questionable, but he didn't practice all week, and I haven't seen anybody not practice and make their way onto the playing field for this team yet under Jonathan Gannon. I mean, things, there's a first for everything. But I would imagine that that's not going to happen. So this is a very, season finale kind of throwaway game. Let's just get through it.
It's not even Thanksgiving and we're having this conversation.
Yeah. But you can understand it though, right?
Of course. Yeah. And that's why they traded Dobbs, because they're just like, well, we got to get through one more week. The Dobbs father will set sail to the Great Lakes of Minnesota, and Clayton, can you just hold our head above water? No, not literally, but figuratively. We're 1-7. Can you get us through 4 quarters? This is going to get me through the weekend. Logan Little, $20 super chat, $19.99. Thanks for the awesome daily content, boys. You're most welcome. Thank you.
So generous.
100% the reason why we do this. You guys have been fantastic. I mean, it really does feel like the end of what the Cardinal fans have been forced to kind of endure. Not, through no fault of Austin Ford and Gannon, but there was always kind of a lingering middle period of just kind of ineptitude because you didn't have your franchise quarterback. The quarterback that you're paying, $50 million on average to, being unavailable and then trying to be competitive, albeit with a rebuilding roster in today's NFL. That's a really tough reality.
Yeah. And so, sorry, you're getting into something, I think, really good.
No. I just, to your point, and it's a point, I've got a Johnny on the spot coming out tomorrow. It's like, it is the second season that's beginning tomorrow, or I should say Monday. The Cardinals, and they had this in mind. And I think that I was naive at some point. I'm not afraid to admit that. I thought he was going to come back probably early October. And it does feel like they were always intent. Pup, we're going to squeeze it out for everything. Coming off of Pup, the window to activate him, we're going to squeeze it out as much as we can. And then that aligns really well with, for the most part, 8 games, not 9, the second half of the season. The schedule softens up a little bit. I mean, we were probably a little foolish not to see that this was the reality of the situation, but we had people behind the scenes, the quarterback himself, everybody said the alternative. So I want to believe what they say. Ahead of schedule, freak show recovery. Let's do it. I mean, it's the same thing I kind of scoff at with Aaron Rodgers right now. The difference is that this season, is, as we've talked about, is always about the evaluation process.
Right.
So why, if you are clearly invested with this young man, and again, I think with each passing week they choose not to play him en route to setting him up for success, that he is in their plans, that's got to make you feel good if you're the franchise quarterback.
Yeah, and you have to wonder, and I can't wait to see your video. It will drop tomorrow, the Johnny on the Spot, as far as, the second season. Where do the expectations for the organization go from here?
That's a good
right?
question.
What it is this game, as I see in the chat, about Ingram carries, and yeah, this is a big opportunity. This is a preseason finale for Ingram. Like, could he utilize this game to carve out a bigger role for him going forward? One that I think it was probably his own fault hasn't capitalized on, because I think that it's been there, right? And Dermicado passed them up. I love Trey McBreezy legacy game, Cardinal Charles 71. I think we found Johnny's burner. Seeing a lot of Trey McBride today. I think Trey McBride is already kind of entrenched himself in the next coming weeks, right?
But it's weird when you play your best tight end that he really can perform for you.
Sets a franchise record for receptions at the position.
I heard that's pretty good.
10, like high score. Is that good? Yeah, I mean, you got to like it. But as far as this game goes, in previewing this game, like, I think Tune, he doesn't have a whole lot to lose here. I think he can gain a little bit, in giving confidence to the organization. Like, hey, you were right. Like, you can be comfortable with me as your backup the remainder of the season, and then have an opportunity going in the offseason to really solidify that role. I'm speaking as Clayton Tune here, like, I'm cheap labor, controllable, and prove that I can play the role of Joshua Dobbs, where I can operate at the same level, and then, like, the play doesn't completely just fall off a cliff.
Scientist Prepper, I'm not going to dismiss this comment, because I think that we've been conditioned to feel a certain way here in Arizona. Such quitters fight and find a way Sunday. Like, they are going to fight and try to compete. But you think about, okay, go back to like Bruce Arians' first year as head coach. Overachieved, right? 10 games. They won. They go back to the Steve Wilkes year, fighting for his job. Ended up costing him his job, like trying to win every game possible. And then Cliff's first year, I mean, they were really competitive, albeit with 5 wins. This is really the first true year. You even go back to Wisenhunt, like that first year. I think they go 8-8, like 7-9. Like, this is really the first time where it's like, guys, until we get Kyler back, like, we're trying to win. And Gannon will go up and say all the right things at the podium. Like, no one's being judged on wins and losses right now. Like, I hate hearing that, but like, they got the one, which is the one that I was concerned about. It's like, when are they going to win a game? You got to win a game. You don't want to go over. You especially don't want to go over before Kyler comes back. But I do think there is now, when Kyler does come back, a little bit pressure ramps up on everybody.
Yeah.
Gannon's got pressure. Drew Petzing has pressure. How do you choose to call a game? We've talked about the pressure Kyler Murray's facing. But in regards to this Sunday and the past, 8 weeks, I mean, the pressure has been relatively mid for this organization. They all got together. The brain trust probably included also Michael Bidwell. This offseason is we're just going to evaluate, and we're going to do our best. But at the end of the day, like, we're not going to have a win-loss record kind of dictate the future of this franchise in a vacuum for a singular year. And I don't know if that's ever been the case. It's always felt like, could so-and-so get fired? You have to get to a certain barometer, right? What happens if you do X, Y, and Z? When we know Steve Wilkes' worst record in the NFL, he got shit canned, right? If Jonathan Gannon has the first pick in the draft, guess who's not getting fired? Jonathan Gannon.
Biggest key to that, and the biggest difference between 3-13 and potentially a 3-14 now with the extra game, which Jonathan Gannon could be his likely record, is you lose a locker room.
Yeah.
And I've had some conversations with people who covered the team. I was part of that media group that covered the 2018 team, and it was absolutely brutal. By this time that season, Patrick Peterson had already requested a trade. Like, the locker room was gone. It was well gone. And how they handled the quarterback position early on, when they inserted Josh Rosen into the lineup, how long they kind of kicked the can down the road with Mike McCoy at offensive coordinator. Like, Steve Wilkes had completely lost that locker room, and going back for a second season was going to be a huge effort to try to spin that around. Even if you were to give him a quarterback, upgrade like Kingsbury receiving his first year, move off of Rosen and move up to Kyler Murray. But and there's still work to be done. Like I think that Jonathan Gannon has done an incredible job as far as the culture change goes and buy-in from the players, especially when you look at the record 1-7. I mean, it's an unbelievable job, and that he's got these guys locked in. I talked to Budda Baker yesterday during his press availability, and I tried to ask him, and I wasn't trying to be sneaky or anything. Basically, asked that, like, as far as you're out there, this is the third week of practice for Kyler Murray. Clayton Tune, you've seen him since training camp. You've got belief in both of these guys, but like, do you trust that the coaches are making the right decision, as far as if they don't go with Kyler Murray? Because from all the reports are Kyler Murray's ripping people up in practice. Like he's just terrorizing defenses.
Did I see something on Twitter today or from you or somebody else that he told Gannon he's like ready to play? And they made that public, but
Gannon said that. Yeah, Gannon said that. They said, because when Gannon announced that Kyler was returning to practice, 3 weeks ago, and he said, here's what we're doing. And then he said, Kyler told me he's practicing today. So Howard Balzer, our beat reporter, you can read his work, go PHNX.com. He asked him, so where does Kyler play into this decision? And he says it's an organizational decision, right?
Right.
It goes with Monty, it goes with JG, it goes with Drew Petzing, and Kyler Murray. They all play a role, but ultimately there's never been a chance. Like he said, he's been bugging him, one, to kind of back up reports you've had, is that Kyler's been pushing since the beginning of training camp, right? He didn't want to be.
He didn't want to be on PUP at all,
right?
No,
exactly.
I have that source,
and he kind of joked like, you would. It's crazy how long ago he's been pushing to play.
I think he's kind of not quit, but he's basically like, my hands are tied. Let me try to do it with my play. Now, I do think during the week before, like the week of Baltimore, and then last week especially, like there were jaws dropping at practice, especially with people who have not been exposed to him as a full-time player in Arizona. Like right. you got the great bite from Humphreys and company, and like they've seen it, right? Yeah. But it's different for Gannon and the rest of these guys. A lot of these players that haven't played against him before, and it's like, oh wow, like we literally just trotted out top 10 quarterback when he's healthy. Now he's in practice, and so go ahead.
Here's how telling that is, because who asked Humphreys about it was a guy that was in Baltimore, who's practiced and played with Lamar Jackson, and Tristan Colon asked DJ Humphreys, he's like, is he always on that level? And Hump's like, yeah, he was Will Ferrell in the campaign, and he's talking to Zach Galifianakis' character and said, welcome to the fucking big leagues.
Except for he says the F word in there too, which we've been known to use in this podcast. I mean, it's so polarizing, this entire thing, but it's almost over, right? And in the meantime, we got to get through what is just a notch below a regular season and a notch above a preseason game. I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek. That's disrespectful of Clayton Tune. There are two schools of thought in the comments right now. People who are fired up to watch Clayton Tune, and then people who are mortified to watch Clayton Tune this weekend. And I think I fall into the latter camp there.
No,
I am not, because of his play. I am concerned about what Jim Schwartz and company could do to this.
Damon, can we, while he's breaking this down, can you bring up some Tune practice footage? Do we have that?
Are we going to do this today?
Oh, okay. You just tell me why you think Clayton Tune.
Oh yeah, there's Myles Garrett right there next to
just make Humphreys, your point. Act like you're not.
I
even
saw enough
Clayton
of this.
Tune.
I was with you at training camp. I saw enough of this. Solid. What do you want me to say?
I want you to make the Jim Schwartz and what? That ball was whistling.
All right, I can't even make my point. You're trying to shit all over it.
Look, that guy couldn't even handle it. It's too hot.
This weekend's gonna be. Listen, you know who else looks good throwing against the air? Trey Lance, Zach Wilson. Can we
stop?
His
mechanics are so much better than Trey Lance.
I like Clayton Tune. That ball wobbled a little bit. He's a nice kid. I hope he can be Kyler Murray's backup for the next 10 years. People in the chat are saying this is the future. I got some bad news. This is his future might look a little different on Sundays. I want him to do well. We need more of that. People up in his face at practice, because that could be a reminiscent. Who's playing left guard this week? Who's playing left tackle? That scares me. I'm scared. I'm scared for him. I want to be able to sit back after the game, and the three of us, me, you, and Britton, at BetMGM and know like he's okay, he's doing fine. He completed the game. The Cardinals were competitive. God forbid they win the game, but I mean, like 5th round rookie against Myles Garrett. That Myles Garrett's won games by himself this year, alone by himself. Again, this is not me criticizing this regime. I love what they've done this offseason. I think they've done a lot of really good things during the year, and I can't flip and wait for Kyler Murray to return next week. But to try to contextualize and break down like this singular game, I have legitimate concerns about a 5th round rookie that didn't play in a Power 5 school playing Jim Schwartz's top defense on the road, like in the cold. Like that's a little, I'm allowed to, I feel like you're scoffing at that. I'm giving you rational reasons as to why that's concerning.
It's just, you have done a complete 180 from where you were this summer.
Stop. That's not realistic. Bo, I love you, my guy. I was so anti Colt McCoy, grandpa out there giving hospital balls to Michael Wilson and Hollywood Brown. So by default, I had to be Tune time. And then the minute they traded for Joshua Dobbs, like, okay, of course that's what they're doing. Tune for whatever reason. He looked good at times. He was ripping it up against Air. He was also ripping it up against his Cardinal defense early on in camp that was not very good. Just to come in cold against the Browns. I'm just saying it's asking a lot of him. I don't dislike him. God, it's so negative here.
I agree with what Freeman for the Blind said. He'd obviously rather see Kyler, but excited to see a rookie make his debut.
I agree with that. Agree.
It's great to see Freeman for the Blind. Good to see you back in the chat. But yeah, everybody else crushing it as well. Humble Rumble just reiterating it's a rebuild. Tommy Felix saying I'm concerned more about the left side of the O-line. And you should be. I mean, this is a DJ Humphries legacy game, right? I mean, DJ Humphries doesn't want to have.
I mean, you joke, but like, yeah, if you replace him in the offseason, this is probably a game you look at,
right? And this is one, like, if he gets Clayton Tune murdered, then his legacy is sullied, and he's got blood on his hands.
Yeah.
And then if he's able to kind of, if he's able to be, play his best game and keep, Myles Garrett relatively bottled up, then you look at him and say, hey, look what he did against, the 2023 Defensive Player of the Year candidate.
Jack Smith in the chat. Is that Jackie Smith? Jack Smith saying, someone get Johnny a Colt McCoy jersey. I was just at Goodwill the other day. They were trying to give them out for free. I used one to wipe off my car. All right. So BetMGM, bet 10, get 200. I love Colt McCoy, but he's retired now.
You can't just trash. You can't drag Colt McCoy and then say, I love him.
Listen,
I changed my oil with his jersey.
Like my point was look at all these teams that need a quarterback, a backup, a starter.
I agree.
He's not in the NFL anymore.
I know.
I said in the summer, he's not an NFL player. Scott. We got to be able to separate two things.
Throwing it to you. I would throw it to you.
Stop it. Yes, that's right. Think about that. We're going to be at training camp next year, and we're going to be like, remember when we were here last year and we couldn't watch them complete series offensively because they were pointing instead of throwing? They know that they got to be laughing their ass off behind the scenes. I want to talk more about Kyler Murray, but first, right now, I'm going to tell you right now, the best bet on BetMGM, I'm going to give it out for free right now, and then I'm going to double down because the line could go down before the game on the pregame. Do you know what my pick of the week is? The prop bet. I told you about it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So right now, bet 10, get 200, BetMGM. The best bet you can make this weekend. Michael Wilson, we assume, is out. Even if he does play like Clayton Tune, like just factor that in. Probably going to go with some vets at wide receiver. Hollywood Brown, of course, Trey McBride. The other receiver, especially with Greg Dortch being banged up, is going to be Zach Pascal. I looked this up yesterday when Bo and I were recording the audio only. Zach Pascal was the emergency quarterback in Indianapolis back in 2020, and I believe Jonathan Gannon was there. I would not be surprised to see Zach Pascal read option, wildcat bullshit for the Cardinals this week. Zach Pascal, anytime touchdown, plus 1,600. Get it right now. I mean, who else is going to score for the Cardinals? And I think you made a point on the audio only, Bo, that Howard told you that they're one of the worst teams defending RPOs and read options. Well, endo facto, let Zach Pascal run the Wildcat, maybe in the red zone. Let him take a QB keep. You guys plus 1,600 with our friends at BetMGM. Again, we're going to be out at BetMGM this weekend, the sportsbook at the Great Lawn. I've been craving their wings for 2 weeks. I can't wait to go back and stuff my face. I've told you all, Bo's doubled down on if you come and you rock some PHNX gear, a free beer on us, guaranteed. And in the meantime, why don't you make yourself $200 using the BetMGM Sportsbook app? Place a 10 spot, at least $10. You're going to get $200 in additional winnings, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Download the app, Android, iOS, or check them out, betmgm.com. Check us out in the show notes for full details. Now listen to my guy Shane Diefenbach talk about it in the disclaimer.
Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
I'm about to tweet out some a stat bomb that's going to make you think that you took some OGs. It's going to blow your mind. Absolutely is. Speaking of OGs, you can save some coin while dabbling with Arizona's favorite cannabis kitchen, the gummies that are on the best here in the Valley. Check out what they got going on, ogsbrands.com, and then check out ZenLeafDispensaries.com, because when you go to ZenLeaf Dispensaries, you can save yourself 25% off OG's products right now. So you order online, you pick up in ZenLeaf stores at a ZenLeaf store location near you through November 30th. So we're just kicking this off where the promo code PHNX is going to get you 25% off the gummies with pickup orders done online. So enter that code PHNX at checkout. The deal is exclusive to PHNX listeners. It's available online. Pickup orders discount PHNX through November 30th at ZenLeafDispensaries.com and on all OG's Brands products.
Free matter for the blind. No chance Kyler plays. 0 chance. 0.000 chance.
No, you can't say that.
Okay, I'm sorry. 1%. 1%.
Okay.
Somebody in the chat earlier said Clayton Tune is booty cheeks. Tune is booty cheeks. I just wanted to read that. I don't agree with that, but I think that's hilarious. 1%, 2%, whatever it is. Driscoll's going to be the number 2 quarterback. Will they just not have an emergency quarterback, right? Like they'll just have 2 quarterbacks, and then Zach Pascal will probably be the emergency quarterback. And they're not going to dress Kyler Murray, which is the right move. If you're not going to start him, don't dress him. Yeah, because it removes the temptation. We've talked about it all week. Kyler Murray coming back on Monday. He's going to be entrenched as the starter, healthy, cleared, ready to go, and we'll prepare and get 100% of the first team reps next week at practice. I mean, they have done their best to try to emulate a training camp for him. And while this is a very winnable game if Kyler Murray plays, I've told you about it. The line I think would go down from like 8.5 to 3, if not a pick 'em, because Deshaun Watson has been awful this year, and the Cardinal defense is playing better. Everybody just wants Kyler. The best thing for Kyler Murray, according to the organization, is to debut in Week 10 against the Falcons with James Conner at home in front of the Red Sea. That's what they want to do.
And even before the Conner injury, that seemed to be the plan, right? That seemed to be the date that they targeted. Okay, you ready for? You can be probably impressed by this, and then at the end of it, you're going to be depressed, right?
You're really building this up. Okay,
Clayton Tune is poised to make his first career NFL start on Sunday. That's November 5th.
Okay.
A year ago, November 5th, 2022, Clayton Tune took the field against Southern Methodist, SMU, and threw for 527 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 3 picks with a rushing touchdown. 8 total tutties for Clayton Tune a year ago from his potentially his first career NFL start. I think did you freeze? Is your connection? Are you frozen?
You're throwing out Southern Methodist fucking stats on this show. Is that supposed to make me feel better? I think that should just be. Oh, and you should have just been like he threw 7 touchdowns and ran for 1 a year ago today. You shouldn't have told us the university.
I think SMU is important. It's important context for.
Okay.
Because he also threw 3 picks. He also was a little cavalier with the football on that day.
Yeah, they're on Panera Bread's schedule. SMU is absolutely. I think they
Tuna
played in
Fish
a bowl.
State.
Yeah, I think they played in a bowl game together last year. Legitimately, do the players there look like me? Are they out there trying to cover defensive wide receivers and running backs? There's a 5'6" outside linebacker now for SMU. He's already got a job lined up, auto dealer, right after he's done with getting his college degree. Listen, I like Clayton Tune, but this is really hard this week. Anybody that says it's not hard, you're lying to yourself. This is tough. Like, at least like with Dobbs, you have seen Dobbs do it before. Like every time we would preview a game, it's like, can he get back to what he was against Dallas and San Francisco? Like two of the best teams, defensive personnel in the NFL. We'd seen it with our own eyes. Like because we've gone through this roller coaster of we liked him when they acquired him. Everybody hated it. He took a second to get going. Then he got hot. People loved him. Then he fell off. People hated him again. I think we've been pretty even keeled with Dobbs. With Tune, it's like, albeit in the preseason, that was a while ago. He's probably improved since then. He would struggle in like third quarters of preseason games against like third stringers.
Yeah.
So that's he would complete about 50% of his throws in the preseason. And so this Cleveland defense can make a lot of regular full-time, top 15 quarterbacks look bad. The guy making his first start, that's tough. But
I mean, they haven't really faced the top 15 quarterback. If you look at their schedule, they haven't had a murderer's row of quarterbacks. I mean, they've faced the likes of Gardner Minshew. I mean, I know they faced Burrow week 1, but Burrow was a shell of himself because his calf wasn't nearly healthy enough. They dominated Burrow in that Bengals offense. Kenny Pickett, Ryan and Tannehill. The one that they did face was Lamar Jackson, and he torched him. Brock Purdy, I don't know where people, most of the chat stand as far as Purdy goes, but he didn't have his best receiving options, and he looked pedestrian and below average in that game. And then Geno was able to get the come from behind win over him last week.
Eddie, I think you know the answer. 3 touchdowns from Clayton Tune or Myles Garrett, 3 sacks on Sunday. I think we know. We know without answering, Mr. Eddie. Steph in the chat, Steven, David Carr 2.0 sack fest Sunday, IR on Monday. If that happens, though, and we talked about it on our audio-only podcast, I encourage you to check it out, then that's Drew Petzing's fault. Because you asked me, you go, if they're chasing from behind, they're going to be more susceptible to
as ferocious as this front seven for the Browns is, they have less sacks than the Arizona Cardinals.
It is irresponsible to ask Clayton Tune to throw the ball more than 25 times. If we're sitting there and he's approaching 30 in the fourth quarter, I'm going to be very disappointed in Drew Petzing. And I don't really care what the score is. Like, honestly, I get it. You're trying to, if you're down by 4-7, you're chasing a lead. You got to throw the football. I get that. But for me, it's like, if this game's out of reach on Sunday, I don't mean to be the Debbie Downer. Like, don't involve him in unnecessary shots for the sake of it. Especially like Michael Wilson's a good player. You're not going to have Michael Wilson. You're down to your third string running back. Like, let's be smart. Let's not get people hurt in this game that are going to be key to the second half of the season and evaluating Kyler Murray, like Hollywood Brown and Trey McBride. I think it's very, very attempts coming on Sunday. 40 total rushing attempts between Tune.
You got to get enough. You got to get enough offensive plays to do that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that you're with no. I mean, look how far down the depth chart they're going as far as their rushing attack goes. I mean, that's far too conservative. That's far too. I think like the what you're describing. Like, there's way too much concern for. If any NFL team had that mentality, like they're dead on arrival. Like they really are. Like, they're going to have to play with a little bit of more confidence than that offensively. And I understand on paper it looks awful. It looks awful. I mean, you're starting a 5th round rookie against the guy who's a defensive player of the year candidate. But like I said, 20 sacks. Cardinals have 24, I think, on the season as a team. But Myles Garrett has basically half of those. In the Arizona Cardinals offensive line, it's not a turnstile anymore. It hasn't played great, and it's going to take a rookie quarterback not holding on to the football, which is easier said than done, against the team that's sticky in coverage. I understand that. It's a bad matchup for most quarterbacks, but more importantly, a 5th round rookie making his first start.
Steven saying we have no run game. Like, we don't have James Conner. Like, the run game's been there all year. Like, maybe not quite on demand, but they're a top 10 rushing team. This is like the best rushing team kind of by default that I've seen in my adult lifetime watching this team, outside of like David Johnson, maybe circa 2016. I mean, they are really good running the football. And it's a mindset, it's a mentality that they brought here. And I think, again, in a game like this, you're going to need it. But Dobbs was a big part of that run game. DeMercado was the main back the last couple of weeks. Those guys aren't playing Sunday. So I am fascinated to see, this is a Drew Petzing creativity game where he could help himself exponentially when it comes to maybe being a future head coach in this league. We're going to talk about key matchups for this game, give our official predictions. Cardinals need a hero to step up. You need a hero on your plate with some hero bread. How about that? 10% off with the code PHNX at hero.co. Hero makes sliced breads, buns, and tortillas that are available at hero.co, and you can get them on Amazon. What makes them better, you ask, than any other competitor that you've used before? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you're getting that fiber and protein in your diet without having to count the carbs. The taste is fantastic and fewer calories than the leading national bread. Plus, I need that sweet, sweet protein. You'd be shocked. I go to the store, Bo, I'm looking for decent bread that my kids can consume. Most bread has a ton of sugar in it. Most bread's not very good for you. Well, right now, Hero Bread is here to save the day, be your hero, and we're offering our listeners 10% off their first order. Just go to hero.co and use that code PHNX to save the day. Hero.co, 10% off today.
Love the Hero Bread. Also love that coming up tomorrow, you want to make sure that you have the Drops app by our friends over at Soul Savvy. It's going to give you a drop alert, instant notification for a big-time drop that's expected tomorrow for the Air Jordan 1 Reimagined Royal. You don't want to miss out on that with our friends over at Soul Savvy. Go to soulsavvy/PHNX. So links.soulsavvy/PHNX is going to give you an accurate release calendar. They'll keep you up to date with the releases that are upcoming. Whether you're like the casual buyer or you're the ultimate sneakerhead, you're going to want to get the Soul Savvy app today. We got the QR code, which I think is going to get you to the Drops app immediately on your phone, on your smartphone. So take advantage of that and sign up at Soul Savvy by clicking on the links in the description below. Visiting links.soulsavvy.com/PHNX. Head over to the App Store and download Drops by Soul Savvy app. I was looking at, so you mentioned, Joshua Dobbs, how rock solid he was, as far as using his mobility, utilizing him in the RPOs, having some design runs for the veteran quarterback with the rookie quarterback. If you look at Dobbs versus Tune, and Tune, as I pointed out, a far distant second in his combine to Anthony Richardson, but second most athletic quarterback in the 2023 class, according to the NFL Combine metrics. He ran a 4.6440. Joshua Dobbs ran a 4.6440 when he came out of school. Higher vert from Clayton Tune as far as like his 3-cone. Dobbs a little bit quicker there, so you're looking at maybe not like the lateral movement, probably a little bit more from Dobbs, and that's important. You look at the shuttle a little quicker with Clayton Tune. So I don't think you're getting that much of a drop off, and I think Tune is going to have the ability, especially not having really anything to lose, one and done starting, to go out there and really kind of leave it on the field.
Over under how many attempts rushing do you think he'll have this weekend?
I think he'll have it. I would put it at like 5.5, 6.5.
Yeah, that was my exact line.
Yeah, I think he approaches it, no doubt.
Probably has like 2 to 3 like direct runs and then a couple scrambles. I think it's an interesting facet to his game that we didn't see a lot of, but we knew it was there during the preseason. How about some interesting matchups for this game, Mr. Bo Brack? Because, I mean, the number one, Clayton Tune versus the Browns defense with Jim Schwartz and company, and that fearsome pass rush. That defense, 4 of 7 rush TDs allowed versus quarterbacks, 20 sacks, Bo Brack. You just mentioned it. Kid can move. Can the Cardinals take advantage of his mobility? Sans Dobbs and Kyler Murray.
And this is where it's going to come down on the shoulders of the Arizona Cardinals play caller and Drew Petzing, right? Because, if you're in close, if Clayton Tune can operate an offense and get inside the red zone, this is where quarterbacks have been able to kind of expose this one of the few flaws that this Browns defense has. Gardner Minshew had 2 rushing touchdowns against this defense, right? 2 rushing touchdowns on 3 attempts. So he was efficient in running the football. Can Clayton Tune do the same? I mean, I think that becomes, that's part of his arsenal. That's part of his repertoire. And if that's something that you can take advantage of, certainly do that. But then you also see so the 4 of the 7 rush TDs allowed are from quarterbacks. And then you've got also the numbers like 20 sacks. And then if you look at some of the other games, like how they've been able to really bottle up and just suppress quarterbacks from running the football as well, they've also done a really good job in there. So it's a pretty uneven performance from this defense. Arizona Cardinals obviously want to be in have a solid performance compared to like what they did against, a Tannehill, Burrow, and just completely shutting those guys down and keeping them in the pocket and putting them on the turf.
Likelihood, I think, is pretty high that Nick Rallis and Jonathan Gannon reached out to Shane Steichen in some form about what the Colts were able to do against this defense a couple weeks ago that should have led them to victory. But regardless, over 30 points, and it was led by a backup in Gardner Minshew with, I think, comparable mobility to Clayton Tune. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Try to emulate that performance as much as you can. And, they had Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss. But, man, that would be the mindset, is just how many attempts can we get from Clayton Tune on the ground to give him a seam and let him get upfield and just convert first downs. We're going to talk about our predictions here in a second, but man, I think 20 points wins this game either way. I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to tear apart this Arizona Cardinal defense. And Bo, that brings us into our next matchup.
Yeah, let's take a look at so we were talking about this on the audio only, and then we'll bring it here onto the live preview show, the Browns quarterbacks, but certainly looks like all signs are pointing to the return of Deshaun Watson. As a group, the 3 quarterbacks, DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and then most recently PJ Walker, and then Watson included, 55% completion percentage, just 5 touchdowns and 11 interceptions going up against the Cardinals defensive backs. And primarily when I think about, where they can get the edge, it's not the outside corners where we've seen them struggle with Marco Wilson and now Starling Thomas, who's kind of taken over that starting job from Keitrell Clark, but the kind of the inside defensive backs, Jalen Thompson getting back to more of his comfortable safety position along with Budda Baker, and then Garrett Williams, who's played rock solid since he's returned from the injury. Like, can those guys be a nuisance for Deshaun Watson anytime he looks over the middle of the field?
Yeah, he also takes a lot of sacks. So the 2 games to end last year, 12 times this year, and then in the final 2 games of last year, 12 times.
Wow.
So, I mean, you think about it. He played, 4 games this year? So 24 times in the last, 6 games? I mean, the Cardinals have to be licking their chops. And I made an argument all week. PJ Walker is what he is. He's a backup. He was egregious this year. Deshaun Watson is going to give the Cardinals opportunities to stay in this football game. Unless Stefanski takes a similar approach of what I think the Cardinals are going to do and try to ram it right at Arizona, 30 plus times this game with Kareem Hunt and Jerome Ford, I think Deshaun Watson is primed to keep the Cardinals in this game. I don't think he's going to play particularly well. I think he's still compromised and maybe feels pressure to come back early, given the situation with his contract and the fans there basically saying, we have what we feel like is an NFC North caliber winning team, certainly with their defense and some of their skill players, but our quarterback's just been a big heap of trash this year, the quarterback position in general. I think the Cardinals, again, I said it, I'll double down on the audio only from last night. I think they win the turnover battle. I think they're going to win this game because I think they're going to be so conservative offensively. It's going to lead them to not turning the ball over. And then let's just do it. Let's get to our official predictions for this game. I'm happy to go first. I have confidence in this defense. Right now, I'm going to have to see it with my eyes as it relates to Clayton Tune. I think the Cardinals lose 20-10. If you tell me the Cardinals score in the mid to high teens, they're going to be in this game till the very end. But they weren't doing that with Joshua Dobbs. Now you're without Michael Wilson, DeMercado. It's just a lot to ask. I think I'm being fair here. The defense, I think, keeps them in it. This is a 1-possession game in the fourth quarter, but somebody who's got to keep you in it offensively is Trey McBride. He's the offensive star. He's going to be the breakout star for this team offensively this year, and we've seen it now. He's going to get to over 100 yards at some point this year in a game for the first time in forever for the Arizona Cardinals. He will be talked about as the top 10 tight end coming into 2024. He's got that skill set. He has always been a plus receiver. Now he's putting it together on the blocking front. That was the one thing kind of holding him back. He had a little bit of an injury during training camp. He is playing with so much confidence right now, and the confidence comes from knowing that it's his job and he's going to get the targets. I think it's another big day for him, kind of by default. And on the flip side, like I think we get a Budda Baker interception this weekend. I think Deshaun, as we just mentioned, is going to give them opportunities. Budda Baker has been fantastic since coming back. The defense has been flying around. Their secondary has been fabulous since Budda Baker came back 2 games ago against Seattle. I think they have their best game to date. Like, I would not be surprised if Deshaun Watson throws 0 touchdowns and like 1 to 2 interceptions. Like, I definitely could see that with the way this defense is playing. Coupling, of course, Jalen Thompson, who's a stud. Garrett Williams is playing really good football. And then the X factor. I teased on it earlier, plus 1,600. Like, Zach Pascal is going to be part of the starting offense. He's a tremendous run blocker. I think he's going to get opportunities with the football in his hands. And again, could it be running the football? Of course, in the passing game. I think, of course, Hollywood Brown and Trey McBride are the 2 people everybody knows. But this is the 3rd target, and he's not a burner. He's going to be open, hopefully, and available for Clayton Tune. He cannot have the same drops that he had earlier this year that caused them to have turnovers, that caused them to drop touchdowns against San Francisco. But I do think a big difference, he's been getting number 1 reps all week, Bo. And so he's comfortable in his role because most of the time those go to Michael Wilson, who we don't expect to play.
Yeah, I mean, they have to be, every player has to be played near perfect game, right? Like, Pascal can't have the mistake that he had that led to the pick 6 so many weeks ago against the Bengals, like you said. Trey McBride, as great a game as he had last week with the 10 catches, 95 yards. He had a crucial 3rd down drop that would have been huge for the Cardinals offense. Like, got to come up with that, got to rein that in. And I like your picks, right? And I always like to, obviously our score predictions, they don't match. Like, these are our players of the game. Like, I feel like my players of the game, like, okay, if they can have success, this is where it's going to come from. But I think yours is gritty, man. Because it feels like this is a sandpaper type game, right? Like, it's going to take this team being real gritty to get this thing done on Sunday. And if you'd love to see him continue to kind of change and feed the misconception or misperception of this organization. Like, they can scratch and claw. They can be competitive once again when people are counting them out. Let's take a look at my predictions here, Damon. I've got the Cardinals falling to 24-15, a few more points on the board. But if they are going to get there, if they're going to be in this game, and it's going to be, keep it under 10 or keep it a 1-possession game, it's going to come down to Clayton Tune. He's got to be the offensive star of the game. Like, he's got to be able to find, his first career touchdown, whether it's on the ground or whether that's through the air. He's going to have to be able to cash in when they're close. And then, as I mentioned, having success against Deshaun Watson, who might not necessarily be at full strength, who has put the football up for grabs this season. And Johnny believes that the Cardinals will get their hands on a football. I think if that happens, it's going to come via the rookie cornerback out of Syracuse, who's already done it in his first career game. I look for Garrett Williams to continue to trend up. And then talk about the X factor. I felt like this guy, the only way that you could get Rondale Moore into the game plan was on the ground. And I think he'll certainly have his attempts this week. But I think you get him reincorporated in the slot. Like, I think I remember at least Clayton Tune had a lot of success throwing to Greg Dortch in the preseason. And Greg Dortch was the backup to Rondale Moore and running the same route tree as Rondale Moore in the slot. And I think that Clayton Tune will look for number 4 more in the passing game than Joshua Dobbs did.
I like Rondale Moore a lot in this game because I think he had opportunities last week. He made the most of them. I think he deserves more opportunities, particularly on the ground, because it's going to be Keontae Ingram. So the supplemental kind of change of pace back is the former 2nd rounder out of Purdue that's I think a converted wide receiver to running back right now, at least a co-share of that workload. Alex, $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much. If the D-line can do what they did against Lamar, we'll have a good shot at holding their quarterback in check. I think if the defense plays the exact same game as last week, they have a chance to win this game.
Yeah.
And again, Lamar was off a heater of a game against Detroit. And I think the Ravens have better personnel. And I think certainly they're better coached. Now, they came into State Farm Stadium. The Cardinals have to go to Cleveland. But Deshaun Watson, I'll eat crow in the postgame, Bo. I do not think he's right and ripe to pick apart the Cardinals for multiple touchdowns to no interceptions. The Cardinals will have opportunities, but unlike Seattle, can they convert on those opportunities from turnovers? They lost that game in Seattle 3-0 winning the turnover battle. Like, that can't happen again.
Right. In short fields, you don't want to keep on putting your defense in a tough spot. Like it's gonna take a really an offense that's bucking the trends and the expectations for this weekend to nearly play a perfect game relative to what the personnel is. Right. I mean, what you're going to get from a 5th-round rookie at quarterback and having a wide receiver core that's going to likely feature or start Zach Pascal. Talk about like really just resetting before Kyler Murray comes back. That's what this game is. And it's just like, all right, let's just get through it. And hopefully like they can kind of make it a fun experience along the way. But I think a lot of people are skeptical. Just they've seen where this roster is even at full strength. And then when it's, undermanned as it is now, as much as it's ever been this entire season, people are like, okay, this is where they look like what the national media thought of the Arizona Cardinals before the season began.
I'm fearful to check out the gut meter, but we're going to do that here in a second. But first, I want to remind everybody, go PHNX.com. Our beat reporter, Howard Balzer, the go-to. 90% of the content at gophnx.com is full free. That's sweet 10%, though. Become a diehard, as we mentioned earlier. 20% off the merchandise locker, plus a free hat and or shirt every single year. You are a diehard member. We've been crushing it with you guys in the member Discord for the Arizona Cardinal, PHNX Cardinal Discord. It's fantastic. But if you want to dabble in some of the other Discords, I got this asked the other day. It's like, you can go in any Discord. Chat it up with Craig Morgan and company with the Coyotes. You can talk to Saul about last night's egregious loss by the Suns in the final minutes against the Spurs. You can talk about the Diamondbacks World Series run, Cinderella tea with Derek and Jesse and company. Do it all and more with us. Become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. I promise you, you will not be sorry that you did. And again, 20% off the merchandise locker. Load up like our guy Didi. Get your shirts, get your hats, because man, oh man, when this team's ready to take off, you're going to want to rep your PHNX Cardinal gear with immense pride.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Also, what you're going to want to take pride in is the floors that you have in your humble abode, your house, your condo, wherever it might be. The time always comes when you're going to have to replace that floor, and you want to go check out our friends over at Empire Today. You don't want to be, like Johnny and breakdancing, and next thing you know, you're falling from the second floor to the ground floor because
many times that's happened to me.
You got cheap labor, you got cheap parts. They're not going to do that over at Empire Today. They got their virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see your new floors and how they're going to look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture on your smartphone, instantly see the new floors and the new look in your room. Shopping for floors, the big box store, no, that's not the way to do that. That's going to be frustrating. You're going to see someone that's not going to know what they're going to talk about, and they're just going to blow hot air at you and sell you snake oil, where Empire Today prides itself on convenient shop-at-home service where they help customers shop for floors, that they use their floors and see exactly what their new floors are going to look like in their homes, lighting, the furniture, everything that you want to see new floors under. You'll see it with our friends over at Empire Today. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners receive $350 off new floors, a discount when they use the promo code PHNX. Man, PHNX saves some big-time money on some big-time and great deals with PHNX. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/PHNX for more details.
People have been asking us, are you going to retire, Bo, the gut meter, because this team
Never
is 1-7. Never. It's never happening ever, even if there's a fire. Bo, the gut meter, week 9, before Kyler Murray's return.
Yeah.
Where is it at?
Let's get it out here.
Oh.
Man, the gut meter. It's seen better days. It's seen better days. You think Jonathan
Gannon is on that thing too?
He's not happy. I mean, things are not going great, to say the least, for the Arizona Cardinals at this point in the season. This is like the last gasp. And I guarantee you the gut meter will be nearly maxed out. Like it's gonna cover some ground probably in the next 7 to 8 days. But the Arizona Cardinals have lost 5 straight. They got a rookie quarterback starting against a really tough defense. The gut meter's down. As far as we're gonna effing gut these guys, not a whole lot of confidence there.
No, but here's what I have confidence in. Tankathon.com updated draft standings. Cardinals have 6 picks in the top 78, which means they will pick every 13th pick this upcoming April's NFL draft. And that could shift Titans lose last night, 78. Houston, 76. Titans. Cardinals have the first pick in every round right now. The cavalry is coming, and the cavalry, some of it is here right now.
Yeah.
But some of it might be playing a week from Sunday.
Look at that. 20% gutting, maybe free matter for the blind, possibly. Oh man. It's yeah, tough times, as you always like to say. Maybe before we get out of here, maybe we rally the crew, right? Maybe we put on some Kyler Murray highlights and just bask in the thought that this is it. This is the last time, hopefully the 2023 season, that we're previewing a game without Kyler Murray starting, you know?
Before you do that, let me get this super chat. PR Mac, $5, not a super chat. I want to tell this team to leave it on the field and beat down the Browns, tired of losing. That's a true fan right there. I agree with you. We're going to be ramped up at BetMGM. Anytime the game comes on, I expect and want my team to win and do well. PR Mac, so well said.
Yeah. So let's get those Kyler Murray highlights up. This is from today. This is Kyler. Much of the same of what we've seen from the Cardinals franchise quarterback, just working out, practice squad, wide receivers and tight ends. There he is in Psycho, Bernard Psychovitz. There's our guy, Greg Dortch, working out. That's Corey Clement, probably going to be elevated from the practice squad. Here's a nice little deep ball down the field from Kyler Murray. You'll see a nice connection, I think, at the end of this from Murray to Trey McBride. There's Rondell Moore involved. Look at just the spin on that ball. It's just beautiful, Johnny. That was to Elijah Higgins. Kyler's throwing a little bit on a line here. But look, I mean, next week, he's going to be staying on this side of the field, working out with the starters, working out with probably Tune and all the Cardinals receivers and tight ends. But here, this is where he kind of really got to work. Started throwing to Caden Davis to the practice squad. See him throw to more kind of tight ends. I think this is Blake Whiteheart on the other end of this one. So Kyler Murray looking good. And somebody had asked in the chat, what is, watching Kyler Murray in practice tell you about the decision to pretty much sit him out? I mean, my answer to that is they're just sticking to the plan. They dug in to a week 10 return, and they're going to stick to it for the better, betterment of the franchise in its future. This is the last dime to McBride here of our highlight tape. So we kind of maybe end on that high note from Kyler Murray to Trey McBride that this is absolutely, Jack, hit the like button for Kyler Murray coming back. Hopefully this time next week, we're talking about what's his stat line look like for the Atlanta Falcons game.
Two things, and then I promise we'll end the show. Number one, kudos to my co-host who gets that phenomenal coverage of Murray every day working out. My son was watching NFL game previews for the NFL Network, Cardinals, Browns this weekend, and then we see some highlight video coming from PHNX Cardinals. You love to see that. So both
Rapsheet tweeted it out today. Rapsheet was talking about Kyler Murray, and there was you see this little logo right here. It's right there.
We're everywhere, baby.
There's millions of followers.
My second takeaway, the more important one, if you showed me those highlights, I would think that that's from any other year. Meaning that looks like the Kyler Murray I've watched for 5+ seasons in Arizona. It looks like the Kyler Murray from Oklahoma. It doesn't look like somebody who tore their ACL. And I think kudos to the Cardinals. That's exactly the kind of mindset they wanted to have ahead of his return. No at all significant hitches. No, nothing on his leg, sleeve, knee brace, none of that. It's just, hey, Kyler Murray's back to being Kyler Murray, which means football is about to be good in the desert once again. Speaking of good, we're going to be out at BetMGM, V good this week, and myself, Bo Brock, the playmaker, Britton Golden, Bo Brock.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a huge opportunity for you to come out and get yourself tickets to Kyler's potential debut. I mean, we're not saying premium tickets. You can win yourself tickets, and a damn good chance. I don't care. Like, if everybody came in from the chat right now, still pretty good chance you win those tickets. And I think that we're going to maybe increase the prize package, where it would include not just the tickets to the game, but some signed Kyler swag.
Wow.
Unbelievable. So you get out there, you hang out with us. We're going to be announcing the winner at halftime. So you don't even have to stay out there the whole game. And it's an early game. So you can come out. It's 11 o'clock kickoff. Hang out with us. Get yourself entered to win the tickets to the game and, little piece of signed Kyler memorabilia, the ultimate, Kyler grab bag, tickets to his potential debut and his autograph. It doesn't get much better than that.
It's flipping fantastic. Even if you don't want to come talk to us and you just say, hey, Johnny, just leave me alone. I'm here for the goodies. And I'm going to say, no problem. I'm going to go back to stuffing my face with the sweet appetizers from BetMGM. But real talk, Steven in the chat, we need more fans watching these pods. We need more of you guys out at our events because we want to get to know you, get to hang with you guys. We only have so many of these left this year during the regular season. Perfect time to form these relationships with you guys in person before the off season. But man, it's a special time to be a Cardinal fan. I know we've gotten through the tough times, and I think tough times make a tough fan base. This is a hell of a fan base to represent every day on the PHNX Cardinals podcast. In the meantime, let's get this video over 200 likes here on a Football Friday in preparation for Sunday. Again, come out to Glendale, myself, Bo Brock, Britton Golden, Damon Dog, the entire crew hanging out. We're going to be there early, having a good time. Never too early. Crack some 4 peaks at BetMGM on a Sunday morning. Watch a little Clayton Tune try to outduel Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Brown defense. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your podcasts. For Bo Brock, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you Sunday.
We all silly like the